We have a lot to get through, but before we do anything else, let's just get the children of the poor out of the way. From the perspective of an administrator, this was an okay outcome. You win the lawsuit over the 10 departing schools from the Pac-12 and get to divvy up the money between the two of you for the next couple of years. However, from a fan's perspective, you are the laughing stock of college football. Stuck in a conference that is on total life support and is the Pac-12 in name only. There is no saving this fucking conference. You should have swallowed your pride and gone the Mountain West outright instead of a hybrid scheduling agreement for this season. The Athlon magazine that I'm using to help with references and research for this series just lumped you two bozos in after Wyoming anyways. It's a fucking embarrassment for these two storied programs to be left in the dust by greed and incompetence. But say the line with me, boys. Money talks, bullshit walks. So, is there any hope for either team to do well this season? No. It's no secret that being on a stranded island isn't good for you. The Cougs lost star quarterback Cam Ward to Miami, and there's no clear leader between Zevi Eckhouse and John Mateer to take over at quarterback. Eckhouse has the edge in my opinion, but FCS and FBS are two different worlds in terms of skill level. They also got a slew of transfers on wide receiver, but no idea how well that will mesh into the scheme. The offensive line needs a ton of work, and the defense as a whole needs to be overhauled. Old Crimson might find its way into a bowl game, but it definitely won't be easy. You are fucked. That's not hyperbole or anything. You are absolutely, truly fucked. Everyone worth a shit left at the first opportunity, and your new coach, Trent Bray, is left to pick through the scraps. Sure, your defense is going to make things tough for your opponents at times, but with minor returns on the transfer portal and recruiting getting decimated due to the uncertainty after the Pac-12 collapse, it'll be more of the same in Corvallis for years to come. You also might make a bowl game this year, but I'm not going to be shocked if you don't. Now onto the Pac-12's life support system. The Mountain West should be the top conference out of the group of 5 based on some of the teams in here, but for whatever fucking reason, they can never get their shit together long enough to be taken seriously. I wonder if this year will be any different. You can't rail on service academies too hard, as enrollment there also calls for you to donate your body and mind to the United States government to use as it pleases. So what do they actually have here? Well, a lot of green faces. A ton of starters graduated, so you have an all-new offensive line, 3 new tight ends, goddammit, a new quarterback, and 8 new starters on defense. It's true that Air Force has ground out around 9 wins a year the last few years, but based on their current situation, their wings have been clipped. I'm going to say 6-6 at best. What the Broncos did last year was fucking nuts. Fired their head coach in the middle of the season and went on to win the conference championship game. Turns out that's all that was needed. How in the flying fuck do you lose early on when you have Ashton fucking Genty running wild on these poor defenders? Now the Broncos are spoiled with riches on offense. Besides Genty, they nabbed Malachi Nelson from USC, who is now competing with returning quarterback Maddox Madsen. Both excellent options for the position. The wide receiver core is strong with Prince Strachan and Austin Bolt, and it got stronger with 5-year transfer Chris Marshall. Maybe. He keeps getting into trouble off campus and is very likely on a short leash in Boise. The defense is mostly the same as well and loaded with talent on all levels that either won or was nominated for all conference honors last year. Safe to say, the conference title is Boise's to lose, and the Broncos are easily one of the top contenders for the Group of 5 playoff spot. Considering they are the most famous of the old BCS busters, a berth in the playoffs is more than deserved for them. It has been a slow but steady rebuild for the Rams. You barely missed a bowl game last year, so the goal is pretty obvious at this point. You have what's needed as most of the starters returned from last season, including quarterback Braden Fowler Nicolsi. I'd say that's great with the good amount of passing yards last season, but he has a habit of throwing more turnovers than a fucking bakery. Half the defense returns as well, which will take some time to fully gel early on. Potentially 3 wins almost being a shoo-in in the non-conference schedule, a bowl is definitely possible for the Rams, as long as they don't get in their own goddamn way. This program got tossed around a lot after former head coach Jeff Tedford had to resign due to poor health. A strong showing this year would do the Bulldogs some serious favors, but it won't be easy. Mikey Keene is back under center, bringing a veteran leader to the offensive attack, but the defense is going to be where the season is made or lost. They were one of the worst in the country last year and need to make up a lot of ground. Signing the former number 1 recruit in the nation and defensive end Corey Foreman will help with shoring that up. Add to that Cam Lockridge returning to the secondary after missing a lot of last year, another USC transfer and linebacker Tuasivi Nomura, and already it seems everything is falling into place for another bowl appearance. New head coach Tim Skipper's job won't be easy, of course, it never is in Fresno. Hawaii's run-and-shoot offense made a little improvement last year, finishing with 5 wins. They were deadly through the air, ranked 27th in passing nationwide. That's where the positives end. They couldn't run the ball and sure as shit couldn't score. All yards, no points was the way of the Warrior. This is supposed to change this year, as third-string starter Braden Shager returns at quarterback with an experienced core of wide receivers. However, the offensive line is in flux and needs to be patched up quick, and the defense is undergoing a reshuffle after hiring an NFL veteran coach in Dennis Thurman. Considering he just came off a cup of coffee with Coach Prime in Colorado, he should be adjusted to the college game by now. If not, it'll be more of the same in Hawaii. Nope, don't even fucking bother. This team is on full rebuild mode and even has a schedule that'll eat them alive. Come back to me next year when the meat grinder gets done with you. The Lobos have been stuck in limbo for the last 2 years. Bronco Mendenhall now steps into a locker room with one of the worst rushing defenses last year. The defensive secondary shouldn't be too bad, at least, with transfer quarterback Noah Avenger coming in to reinforce a solid group. Another thing you have working for you is a solid offensive attack behind quarterback Devin Dampier and wide receivers Caleb Medford, Ryan Davis, and Luke Wysong. Where it falls apart is the offensive line. It doesn't exist. Your front 5 all graduated or transferred, and I doubt your second team is going to pick up the slack. Not to mention you are all but guaranteed to lose 3 games early playing against Arizona, Wazoo, and Auburn. You might not play Boise State this year, but you ain't winning 6 conference games. I don't think anyone saw the shit you pulled coming last year. The best season UNLV has had since joining the Mountain West in 1999. Jaden Mayava led their go-go offense, scoring 34 points a game en route to a bowl berth. Naturally, he got enough attention that he fucked right on off to USC shortly after. Despite this, they are still going to be a major problem for the Mountain West. On defense, 7 starters return, including a secondary led by Cameron Oliver, who recorded the most interceptions on the team last season. They got some secondary transfers, including Malik Chavez from Arkansas and 6-year senior Jalen Catalon from Texas. Yes, I have to refer to Texas as an SEC team now. It's a cruel world. Offensively, 4 out of 5 linemen are back, and as long as one of the options they select a quarterback can throw a goddamn ball, Ricky White III, Jacob DeJesus, and Casey Cade will be giving it defenders fits all season. Welcome to the new UNLV. New head coach Sean Lewis is looking to bring the same offensive attack to the Aztecs that he used at Kent State last season en route to a top 5 finish in total yards. However, this is still going to be a rebuilding year since, as of recording, we don't know what the quarterback situation is, and your top running back under the old regime rushed for only 500 yards last season. Transfer wide receiver Jayshawn Polk is familiar with the new coach's scheme as he played at Kent State 4 years, but again, that comes down to the quarterback position. The defense is also getting flipped upside down, switching formations completely. You might as well go ahead and watch it get picked apart early on. It's going to be a long season in San Diego.
Jagged, 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 jack. Spanking it, spanking it, smacking it, smack. Jagged it, jagged it, jagged it, jack. Jagged it, spanking it, spanking it.
Jesus fucking Christ. You drug Ken Niumatalolo from Annapolis all the way to San Jose, but won't use his triple option attack. You are instead going to transition into a spread offense more focused on the pass. They call the new offense the spread and shred. Most of your starters graduated or transferred after last year, so all that's left for them to do is find what works this year and not die. You got a 4-way battle for quarterback, a starting running back that was injured all last year, a single good wide receiver, 2 tight ends, and an offensive line that is completely garbage. Spread and shred, I like shit and cry in the corner while your team gets Spartan kicked into the pit of death. Utah State low-key had one of the best offenses in the Mountain West last season, and a lot of that was due to their wide receiver Jalen Royals, who set a school record in touchdowns while gaining over 1,000 receiving yards. Senior wide receiver Micah Davis is also a great secondary weapon, while 4 out of 5 offensive linemen return this year. On paper, the Aggies have a ton of potential to be just as good as last year. Bad news is, well, everything else is really fucking bad. Mainly on defense, where they were ranked 123rd in the nation in points allowed. You would think they would have some guys returning to add experience, but the vast majority of the defense will be new faces under a new scheme thanks to a slew of top players fucking off to the transfer portal. The new defensive coordinator, Nate Drilling, had great success at New Mexico State, so the future is bright, but the short term is pretty bleak. Oh, and your starting quarterback this year is Spencer Petras, formerly of the Iowa Hawkeyes, who couldn't score worth a damn all season. Hopefully the Iowa way didn't follow him. The Cowboys have always been a very odd team. Occasionally notable, often forgettable, quietly successful. With the retirement of head coach Craig Bohl, there is a chance to bring new life into the program and build upon the good foundation they laid. Your new quarterback, Evan Svoboda, is getting a lot of comparisons to another former Wyoming quarterback, Josh Allen. He's a big hoss of a man at 6'5". He's proven to be a clutch quarterback, leading Wyoming in a game-winning drive over Toledo in the Arizona Bowl. Even better, his team is deep in experience. A strong wall up front on the line, with senior running back Harrison Wiley coming back for his last year. Defense is even better, with very few new faces and filled with talent. Defensive tackle Jordan Bertagnol, all Mountain West Conference winner. Defensive ends Devon Harris and Sebastian Harsh. Linebackers Shea Suianoa and Wyatt Eckler, and a true gem in Isaac White at safety. Safe to say this team is very balanced, and while the wide receiver core is admittedly its weak spot, new head coach Jay Seville's team has a chance to make a lot of noise in Laramie this year. I don't think anybody in this conference can stop Boise State. They have a ton of power and an offense that has a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. In terms of who would play them in the Mountain West title game, it's easy to pick UNLV, but losing Mayava at quarterback to the portal is a big loss and is not easy to replace. Maybe it's because I have a soft spot for them, but Wyoming has a lot of good things going for them right now. I don't know if it's enough to knock off Boise State in the Mountain West title game, but the appearance... I don't know if it's enough to knock off Boise State, but a Mountain West championship game could be in sight. I'll go Broncos versus Cowboys with Boise State getting the W.